10-minute warning. 10-minute warning for the grid parade warm-up lap.
Sunlight begins to fade now, and I feel like I'm losing time, but I don't know how I'm here. The sunlight is turned to grey, and I feel like I'm losing love again. I don't know how.
This is a call for Jack Ashton. Jack Ashton, can you make your way to the interview waiting room, please? Thank you.
Hello ladies, hello gentlemen, welcome to Simracersworld TV for the Simracersworld GT Pro Series. It's the Season 7 Media Day here from Lime Rock Park. My name is Hasse Rømer. I'm joined by the brilliant young Jack Werrell. And Jack, your expectations, I hope they're higher because mine is, but what do you really expect from the series?
Well, firstly, hello everybody, and thank you, Hasse. My expectations are through the roof, if I'm honest, because we've obviously got the GT Evo series as well, and obviously we've had to split it into two different splits. So this is really the best of the best that we've managed to get our hands on, and we've got a massive range of drivers from top to bottom of the timing screens. 12 nationalities as well, just in the GT Pro series. So it's going to bring in lots of talent and lots of different perspectives on racing as well, and we might see different tactics that we've never seen before. So we're going to be in for a mega media day and an even better Season 7.
I think you are completely correct on that one, Jack, and my expectations are, well, pretty much the same. I'm expecting some very, very hot action, and know that the drivers in this league are of the spiciest sorts. We're talking Carolina Reaper levels here of spiciness. I think it's going to get really good. And a very warm welcome, a very good evening to all of you joining us out there on the Simracersworld YouTube page. We're out on Porsche Sport Facebook, and we're on Twitch as well on SRW TV. So a really good chance also for all of us, drivers, viewers, and commentators alike, to really get acquainted with the with who's on display, who's racing, and to just have a look at the level of the field, and just who's going to be at the competitive end, who's going to be struggling. I think we're going to have answers to a lot of questions here tonight. I'm with Jack.
Yeah, I really do agree with you there, because it's the first time people get to race door to door with the people they're going to be racing with for the entire season. And I'm going to put stress on the entire season, because it's 10 rounds in this season, and it's fortnightly, so every 2 weeks, and there isn't a drop round, so there's no second chances for you. If you make a mistake one round and you don't get the points you were hoping for, that won't get taken away from you. You carry on with all the points that you've previously got, which I think introduces that extra little competitive edge. So these guys, whether they decide to sandbag tonight, or whether they decide to really lay their cards on the table and show everybody else really what they're made of. And I think, to be honest, I think that's what the G-Drive Racing Exemia drivers are doing. Martin van Loosenord and Bram van Putten. Because at the moment they're P1 and P2, 1,000 or 100th between them. So they're definitely going to be racing nose to tail for a little while. But what is sort of scaring me is we've mentioned there's two different splits, but in those two different splits, there's two classes as well. So in the GT Pro Series, we have got Platinum class and we have got Gold class, and the top two drivers at the moment are both Gold class. So I'm not quite sure what's happened there, but they're driving away with it at the moment. They're a quarter of a second quicker than anybody else.
It's extreme to see actually, and on such a short lap. I wasn't expecting to see these type of time differences whatsoever. But here, early days still, we've got a good show for you. 45 minutes of racing under a set of rules that's going to be very similar to what we'll normally see, or what we'll see for the rest of the season. Only real difference, if I'm not completely mistaken, is that the drivers, instead of having a 60% fuel capacity at the start of the race, for this one, it will be reduced to 50%, right, Jack?
Yeah, that is correct. I made sure I checked it before the race because I was picking up a little bit of confusion purely on my my own side. It was just we've got a little broadcast cheat sheet, and it tells us everything we need to know. And I was frantically making notes before the race, and yes, we've only got a 50% fuel limit tonight, but they've got to make that last 45 minutes. So I mean, I struggled to get an hour out of a full tank, so you half that. You're going to be really, really tight on fuel, and you're going to have to go into the pitch during the 45-minute race. And we're just going into the closing stages of a 1 hour, 55-minute practice session. So they've definitely got acquainted with the circuit and the cars, hopefully enough for the 20-minute qualifying session to follow to see what they can do during the race.
This is a track where we're expecting quite a bit of heated action as well. It's short, it's tight, it's relatively narrow, and overtaking opportunities are quite scarce here at Lime Rock Park, a track that will be very, very familiar to most drivers of the official MX-5 series. It's a place that seems to be visited every second week in one way or another. But it's huge fun to drive, and the rescan that was recently released, the one that has this chicane as well as someone crossed right to the left there and gets out of the way of Pimpao in the G-Drive Eximia BMW there. But the rescan is really excellent. It has added an extra level of depth, but I do expect quite a bit of, shall we say, controversies here tonight.
Yeah, it's one of those circuits that you don't necessarily see as a GT racing circuit, more of a club level sort of thing, where, like you mentioned, the MX-5s, they are pretty much made to go around here. They haven't got the greatest power or torque figure in the world, but they introduce some really, really close racing in a fixed series. But GT racing, GTE cars, GT3 cars around here probably ain't the best idea, but GTEs, you've got to be quite brave to pilot one of these things around here, and they're doing a full rotation of the 3.25 kilometer circuit, I think, in just about 48 seconds, so well under a minute. They're getting one lap of this circuit done. So you never really get a break either. The long start-finish straight is the real sort of only time you get to calm down, but that's one of the major overtaking opportunities going down the straight and into turn one. So it's going to be a very, very busy night for all the drivers on the grid, and I'm hoping that even though it's just a media day, we're going to see some proper close door-to-door racing.
I think we do, and it's actually a really good point to be made as well, that it is the media day, just to make absolutely clear that it doesn't have any impact on championship standings whatsoever. There's no points to be scored, of course. Always a lot of honors to fight for, and these drivers so competitive. I'm not a second in doubt they're going to be wanting to win it anyways. But the track, Lime Rock Park, not too well known, I think, to many European racing fans. It's, as you said, something you probably have closer associations with to club level racing, and it's going to be a fest here as someone's off to the left. I think that's Sebastian Heberer.
It did look like that, and we'll just have another look back to see what he does. Right on board. Oh, clip the grass. Big hit into the wall. Does he go over? I don't know how he kept that on all fours, or landed it on all fours, because that was going straight over in my eyes. But he did I don't know whether that's luck or skill, but knowing Seb, he will plead and say, oh yeah, it was all luck, all driver talent. But you're going for a little adventure down the hill into the final corner. And you mentioned like this is the circuit that we don't normally associate with this sort of with these sort of cars, and it's not that well known. But throughout the 10-round season, that's Martin van der Loosnord, our current P1 driver, quickest driver out on circuit, just rotating the car through 90 degrees and managing to get it pointed the right way again. I might be able to get my words out soon. Yeah, so we're going to go to some even more. A few more circuits that you might not have heard of, but we're going to a lot which you will have done. So round 1 on the 1st of July, so not far away at all, we go to Sebring. So a very bumpy circuit, quite a challenging circuit, but we know that is a formula for amazing racing there. July the 15th for round 2, we go to Monza. July the 29th, we go to Watkins Glen. I know that's a lot of people's favourite circuit. It's quite a Marmite circuit. You either love it or you hate it. August the 12th for round 4, we go to Mosport Park. Then August the 26th, we go to Imola. September the 9th, we go to Silverstone. September the 23rd, we go to Suzuka. October the 7th, we go to Road Atlanta. October the 21st, we go to Daytona Road Course. And to round out the season, round 10 on November the 4th, we go to the beautiful Spa-Francorchamps.
So that's a fine list of tracks, varied. We're gonna have some technical ones. We're gonna have some fast ones in there as well, and we get a good deal of way around the globe as well, and something that is a very international series as well. Here in the pro ranks, we have drivers from
2-minute warning. 2-minute warning
all
for
over
driver
Europe,
grid lineup.
basically, and as far off as Australia and Indonesia as well, which I think is hugely impressive to see. And it just goes to show that this technology running these sims by now and internet connections worldwide have come to a level where you can actually enjoy racing together with people on the other side of the planet, which when I was a kid that would have been absolutely insane to think about. But for you younglings nowadays, Jack, I guess it's just the way things are. But nevertheless, it's amazing here with several drivers exiting the pits now, trying to get a little laps in here. We're watching Bram van Put in the pits. And Jack, do you think Bram's putting on a show for us? Because I have a strange feeling that it's in honor of us in the booth that he's leaving a pile of smoke that you certainly would associate with the city of Amsterdam. I will say no more. And just to go through also on the standings right now, we have 2 BMWs on top of things, but Bram van Putten, who I think might have gotten in on a wrong team. Yeah. So I have the wrong teams written in my SDK. I'm just gonna see if I can get that fixed real quick, because that's gonna confuse me a hell of a lot. But Bram van Putten is for G Drive, and Niklas last race for the Sim Racing Academy. It is here in the 99 Porsche 911. I was just about to say that it's been a while since we've seen in the more official side of GTE here in iRacing that we've seen the BMWs on top. Even at Le Mans, where you would expect the top speed, strong BMWs to really be able to be contenders, they've had to bow out of the way, actually, it seems.
Drivers, please make your way to the main straight and line up on the grid in 2x2. Thank you very much.
But it seems to me that the Porsche and Ford has really been enjoying their spells as of the BOP for the GTE class in iRacing of late. And it is always nice to see the power swing a little bit in another direction. And we have had a couple of seasons where both BMW and Ferrari have been very, very strong there at the top of affairs.
They really have, and it's great to see that iRacing keep updating the cars to make sure they're as close and just so tight-knitted as possible, because it really does produce some amazing racing. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to treat you to a parade lap. So all the drivers, as far as I'm aware, will have been instructed by Mr. Ian Roos, one of our race directors, just to line up on the start-finish line. As far as I'm aware, I might be able to get a different camera angle on that and maybe look at everybody on the start-finish straight. But yeah, we're gonna get a parade lap of everybody going around, whether it be slowly, quickly, or anything like that. But it's going to produce some amazing content for us and for you, the viewers at home. But I'm really looking forward to the photos that come out of this. and I'm sure we might be able to get a couple of interviews in as well. We will indeed. What I'm going to do is we're going to bring in Jack Ashton. He was our Season 6 champion of the GT Pro Series, or the Simracersworld GT Series. So, Jack, how are you feeling?
Yeah, good. I mean, quite excited for it, really. It's going to be quite fun. There's some really quick guys out here this season, so it's not going to be as plain sailing as last season, but I'm going to give it my best shot. Wearing the number 1 this time round, so why not? Let's go for it.
Oh yeah, why not? But was it a surprise, the pace of everybody going into this season? Because you said you're not expecting it to be as easy throughout the 10 rounds. Is that something you're looking forward to, or is it something you're starting to fear a little bit because you might not be as high up as you initially expected?
It's no fear involved. We're all here for the fun, so it's if having a good race and plenty of clean battles. That's all I'm looking forward to, really. As long as it's a great season ahead. Obviously, everyone wants to win, but if we can get some good results and great races, that's what I'm here for at the end of the day. So, I mean, obviously, I would love to do the team proud and get another win and do all that. But we'll see what happens, really. I'm not expecting set the world alight straight away, but this track's going to be quite hard for the media day. But I am looking forward to some Sebring and some of the other tracks we've got lined up for the rest of the season. So I think tonight will just be have a bit of fun and see who's got pace, and then work out what I'm going to do next round.
Yeah, that's it sounds like a plan, mate. But last season, obviously, you got top honours and you reaped the rewards from that. So doesn't that put you in a position where you've got everything to lose? Like you said, you're wearing the number 1, so people know who you are as soon as you appear in the rearview mirror. Is that something you're considering? Maybe just a bit of strategy towards the start of the season? Are you like just going for consistency and then seeing where your pace ends up, or are you just going to, like you say, push for those good results and see what you can do about a win for the team?
Yeah, I'm always going to push for the good results. I'm not here to mess around. Definitely want to get as many race wins as possible. It's going to be quite hard, I know that, but wearing the number 1's probably more of an intimidation thing for everyone around me. It's just a nice thing to have on board with you, and then people can see, that's that quick guy. It's just a nice little accolade to have, and it just puts their mind at a bit of stress when they see that number and think, oh, he might be a quick guy right behind me. So, and it just forces them into an error, let's say. But it's all tactics anyway. But let's hope it pays off. But yeah, definitely here for some race wins, and I'm not here to just mess around. I am here to give it my best shot. So yeah.
I can't wait to see that, mate. And yeah, we've got a 10-round season coming up, and without a shadow of a doubt, I'm guessing like I say, you're going to be pushing for some decent results throughout, and we'll look forward to watching on. But while we've got you in the box, before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
Yeah, just a massive thank you to Ford. Ford sponsoring me and all the rest of it, part of the team. They're massive help to me getting some sim gear and all the rest of it to keep me going. So massive thanks to Ford. I wouldn't be really here doing it without them. So obviously my teammate here is joining me tonight, which is Cami. So let's give her a good shout out tonight. She's first sort of time out in the GT cars, so it's going to be quite tricky for her, but she's going to give it her best shot, just like myself. So we'll see what happens. And another thank you to you guys for doing the stream. I look forward to it. Look forward to the stream tonight, I think.
Brilliant, sounds good. Right, I'm going to let you go, but thank you very much for joining us in the box, and we'll see what you can do throughout the rest of the season.
That's great, mate. Thank you.
See ya. That was Jack Ashton, our Season 6 championship champion. Great guy, and it sounds like he's got his head screwed on for this season, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you would expect that to be just the way you have it. In general, I think reigning champ, he's out to prove that he's still at the top of standings. And Ford Silla, of course, also a very respectable and well-known team in sim racing esports in general. So I think also on a team basis, they'll be out to show G-Drive and the other teams here, of course, that they're the number 1 match. So a really good one with drivers like, as you can see, the 2 G-Drive cars on top of things here. Martin van Loosenhout, who I've heard rumors is a playmate, so to say, of Max Verstappen's. Wouldn't be surprised to see that it's the way that it is with the pace that he's putting in. And it seems to be everywhere and in every car he is always there. So I wasn't at all surprised to see those stats in here. For this one here is the Simpac 911s, of which I have a good relationship to. Can we say that? We actually just did the 24 hours of Le Mans, came home in second. Of course, in a good partnership with a very nice sponsor of our series as well, that is Porsche Sport. And my personal first 24 hours of Le Mans in iRacing, so to grab a podium place, I don't know, that was much more than I had ever wanted to ever hope for. As no two Ferraris up in front there. They got extremely close indeed. And the question is just who was that? Was that the Meraki Racing Fest of Bob Boland? I think it is. Oh, he's gone off.
Yeah, that's on the exit of turn 2. I think he over-rotated the car when we were looking at him. We can't quite go back to the same extent that we would like to, but it looks like he got it back going again, kept it out of everybody's way, waited for one of the Quantum Racing 4 GTs to go by, got it pointing the right way again, and I think he might have returned to the pit lane. Oh no, I think that's him just going over the top of the hill. But while we've still got the drivers going around, what we will do is we will bring in our season rookie, Carl Sharkey. Carl, how are you feeling going into this? Because we've seen you on the channel before in the Porsche Club GB Sim Racing series, and you seem to know your way around those cars. What's your plan for this season in the Porsche?
It's a different level, really. I've been looking at I've raced against a couple of these guys before, and there's some very, very fast guys in here.
Yeah, we did speak to Jack about that, saying that the pace is picked up generally. There's lots of people which have really got a handle on these cars and got the bit between their teeth with it. Is that something that maybe worries you to an extent through going into this season, or are you just sort of planning on making sure you can get a couple of nice little battles in there, but keep it clean, keep it consistent, and see where it leaves you at the end of the season?
Yeah, it's about your own level of expectation, really, isn't it? You know, I'm coming into it and not expecting to be winning because, like I say, I've raced against some of these guys before. So if I can be in a kind of midfield, I'd be more than happy with that. And it's just, see where we can get to.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that as well, because like you say, you just want to see where you can get to, and it'd be good to see that progression throughout the season, because obviously you'll be getting used to the car and pushing that extra little bit harder as you get comfortable with the people around you and you build that trust with them. But obviously you've got to keep in the back of your mind that they might be doing exactly the same as well. So it seems like a recipe for close racing. You're looking forward to a bit of door-to-door action?
Absolutely, yeah, that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah, I can't wait to see that. Hasse, you got anything to add?
No, not really. Just wanted to say a big thanks to Dave and Lindsay at Strasser for bringing me into the series. They've done a good job of putting virtual racing together while they're not racing in real life. So hopefully they can keep it going once everything returns to normal.
That'd be great to see and great to watch as well. But thank you very much for joining us in the booth while you're here this evening, and it'd be great to see you out on track a little bit later as well.
Cheers.
That was Carl Sharkey, dubbed as our season rookie, and like he says, Hasse, he's just want to see what he can do towards the end of the season and see what he can develop within himself and how he can trust the other cars. And I think that'll be great to see as well, because you won't just be watching racing, you'll be watching people develop and build up that confidence. So people are really going to get quicker the more time they spend in the car.
Yeah, indeed, I think you're right on point with that one, and I also think we have a very nice split here. It's generally the same. We do have some relatively high I ratings in this, but there are a couple of drivers who you say, I'm not going to say anyone is slow or bad or anything, but obviously they're here in the Pro Series, they're invited or they qualified for it, so I'm surprised to say that, of course, they're going to have pace. But indeed, I think we are going to see development drivers, we could say. Drivers. Oh, someone has a big tank slapper in front of Jeremy Hessel's in the Dynamics Ferrari. Almost gets collected there. But just to round off your question there, Jack, it's going to be very nice. And that's one of the aspects I really love about this sort of league racing, where you can actually follow on and make sure that it's the same drivers driving. Drivers actually actually get this kind of narrative to it. You get this kind of story that develops over the season, just like you would in real racing, as opposed to sometime in these esports events when you just have the best of the best for the event taking part. It's not always that the competition is kind of on the same level like that. So it's going to be very nice, and I am really looking forward to seeing the story that's going to be the GT Pro series of Simracersworld TV unfold, the 7th season unfold in front of our eyes. It's going to be great.
Absolutely, I can't wait to see it as well. And you mentioned the developing story, and someone that is ever adding to their story and doesn't seem to really get bored of putting on these events. It's Mr. Ian Roots with his wingman Luke Holroyd.
Good evening. How are you?
Good evening. I'm all right, mate. How are you?
Yeah, very, very good. I must admit, GTE is something big for us, and it does look very pretty on track.
They do. They sound amazing, and it's just great to see how much trust these guys have got in their cars. Because yes, you've got all that addition of downforce, but it's just producing some crazy close racing. Because you know, the more you race them, the closer you can race them, because you build that trust in the car. Was that something you had in mind when you built up this championship and the series, just to see how close you can get people racing and hope that it can produce some good content?
Yeah, I think it was. I think obviously we've had 6 seasons of GT3, and I think GT3 on iRacing, well documented, is kind of on its way out, and people are getting a bit bored of it now after all the years, and the cars are old. But there's a nice mixture of 4 cars here, and I think everybody's chosen a nice mixture of cars and class in the classes tonight. But yeah, GTE is I think it's going to be a very, very good season.
I can't wait to see it play out, because obviously we've been speaking to Jack Ashton and Carl Sharkey, and they say Jack's gonna go for those good results nice and early on, and Carl was saying he wants to just see what he can do about his pace and obviously develop that, and that will introduce the differentiations within the class as well, which I think that'll be really good to see. But while we've also got Luke in the box as well, Luke, you jumped on board with Porsche Sport. Was that something you were planning on doing when you saw it in the making, or was it something where you thought, well, we'll see how it play out? But yeah, what was your sort of stance on the GT Pro series?
Yeah, it's been a crazy couple of months. I mean, since the start of lockdown, we've at Porsche Sport we kind of report on all Porsche news, and then last year we started going to Simracing, the Porsche Sport 2 hours. And yeah, we just got speaking to Ian, and obviously it's not all Porsches, which we'd like to see, but we've got to keep everybody happy. So we've got a mixture, but yeah, it's brilliant. You know, what the relationship we've kind of got with you guys has grown brilliantly, and some fantastic drivers, and got some great feedback. So yeah, we were well on board for this.
It does sound like you're always backing it, and it's great to see so many good sponsors on board as well alongside you. I know we've not even got to not really even got to the start of the media day, let alone the end of it, or the end of the season, in fact. But is season 8 in the planning? I think we're truly invested in the whole sim thing. Surprisingly, quite a lot of us as fans as well. You've always kind of we have a lot of, I guess, true motorsport fans that have never even heard of the sim racing, and we've kind of introduced it through using Simracersworld to our fans as well, and they've really jumped on board, which we were glad for. So yeah, I'm sure it will continue. It sounds like you two have got a great relationship. But while we've got you in the box, not just thank yous and shout outs, is there anything you'd like to say to everybody else watching as well?
Yeah, to the fans and some of the teams, they've really come on board interacting with us. And yeah, we've met some great people, even myself. I've kind of got into sim racing through it, and they've all been helpful, give me tips. We did Le Mans last week. Not very good, but we did all right. We completed it. And yeah, to the sponsors as well, to Strasse, and we kind of co-partner with us, to Dynamics and Abuse it. Some great people involved there.
Anything to add, Ian?
Yeah, I just want to echo that, really. I just want to thank Luke for his involvement, looking for obviously sponsors for the league, and everybody knows what happened to the series last year. It was a bit of a shame the way it tailed off, but we've come back fresh, and the age-old saying is a phoenix from the ashes, and I think what we've created in the last few weeks is something special. And if it wasn't for Luke and Strasser and Porsche Sport, then this possibly would never have happened. And don't forget, it's not just about tonight. You explained earlier on, Jack, it's about the Evo guys as well. So there is another league running in the background. That's also broadcast on a Thursday. So we got, you know, anything up to 40 guys there as well, in the same cars, on the same calendar, using the same tracks, just running one day behind, and they're all vying for promotion to the Pro League for next season. So it's, you know, in total you're looking at 80 plus drivers that this has attracted, all through, you know, the help of Luke and his social media presence and what have you. So yeah, just big shout out to Porsche Sport, obviously Abruzzi and Dynamics as well, and Strasser. Just thanks to everybody for getting involved in the teams and the drivers, because without the teams and the drivers we wouldn't be here, Jack, would we?
No, we definitely wouldn't. We'd be talking about an empty track with nobody going around it, and I'm not sure that'd build up quite a repetitive custom. But thank you very much for joining us in the box, and I'm sure we'll speak to you throughout the season as well. But yeah, is there anything you wanted to add, Hasse, quickly before we let them go?
No, I think you covered it brilliantly there, Jack, with the interview. So we're just going to let him off the hook and get back here with the action. I was actually thinking it would be nice just to hop on board. Sorry for making all the cars turn white there for a minute, just in the hopes that a small refresh of the paints would maybe get the spec maps sorted. I do, of course, on all of our behalf here of Simracersworld, apologize for any small hiccups or such that we might be facing here tonight. I'll be doing my best to get rid of them. It's my first time out really streaming and taking care of everything on my own part, so please do bear with me if there's a little bit of problems here and there.
You're doing a great job, Hasse, honestly. Can I just mention just a couple of things, guys? There is a very small hiccup that makes a massive difference to your timing tower. It's not you guys. I think there's a GCL overlay error in the way it was created. Everybody that is showing as gold on your timing screen is actually platinum, and everybody that is platinum is actually gold. So I'm not quite sure what's going on with that. And also just one last shout out for Sebastian Hebra. Obviously he's lead director this season, and a big shout out to him for all the hard work he's put in behind the scenes to make this work, because it isn't a 5-minute job, as you're probably aware. And obviously Sebastian will be the one heading the way with my assistance for the rest of the season. Just want to thank Seb, and you know, if everybody has any questions, it all needs to be directed to Seb.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for joining us in the box, guys, and we'll speak to you later.
Excellent. Take care. Have a good race. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, Ian. And I'm just on my way to seeing if I can maybe fix the driver ratings to be correct, and that will show in a short moment if it does. If not, we'll have it ready for you for next time. But hoping, I'm thinking that we should just be able to fix. There it is. Reversed it, and it should be right this time around. So Martin van Loosnoord and Bram van Putten. I was also expecting, as you mentioned earlier, Jack, we were a little bit surprised to see, because we know the pace of these G-Drive cars, of the drivers as well in that team. They are always at the very, very sharp and pointy end of affairs. And as I mentioned, it doesn't matter if it's TCRs, if it's Porsche Cup cars, if it's GTs, or even if it's Radicals or whatever. They're always up there. So I was a bit surprised to see them at the gold ring. But that should be fixed now, and I hope you are seeing it correctly out there as well. A warm welcome to everyone that has been joining us since we got going on. And we're getting closer and closer to the media day. You could call it a test race, or a perhaps more fittingly an exhibition race, to use a really fine, nice word there in English. We're still watching Europe de League for Manatee Racing, and their Ford GT with a very nice livery. And speaking of liveries, Jack, do you have any particular favorites here from our first half an hour or so of watching these cars?
I knew this would come along, and it's the age-old question, what is my favourite livery? And it's got to be between the HM engineering car, which sadly isn't out on circuit at the moment, or the Flemish Sim Sports car. Both, or the HM engineering car is a Ferrari, and I do quite like that. But that Flemish Sim Sports car, it's showing. Oh, we went to Robin Duval. I was expecting to go down to Diego Haim, so pardon me. But yes, so both the liveries I'm looking at are on Ferraris, and I think the spec map just adds that extra little bit to the Flemish Sim Sports car. And I've got to say, ever since they did that rework on that livery and added in the different colours and the spec maps, it just looks that extra bit. I don't know, it's just got something about it which I really love. But also that Demon Tweaks car. Not something we see that often out on circuit, being piloted by Daniel Hande, but there we go. It's really nice because I've seen them in real life, or I was looking at British GT a couple of years ago. One of the Lamborghini Huracan GT3s was sponsored by Demon Tweaks, and it just pulled it off so well. Something about lime green and red, it just really works. Have you got sort of any preference on that, or any liveries that maybe I haven't picked up on?
No, I think I have a couple. This one is really interesting as well. It's very much out there, and it's one of these cars that can actually, if you're not really sure what it is, it can throw you off. I'm saying throw you off.
Throw him out.
Yeah, commentator's curse it is for Daniel Hand over here. But indeed, I'm a bit torn. I'm a bit of a naturally improved on this one, because on one part we've got something that's kind of interesting and fresh and stands out, and it's a nice color combination. Can't help to think it looks a little bit like something you pick off the shelves of a candy shop, which I guess is something to catch the eye of a 9-year-old or 10-year-old, but it does have a kind of a boyish charm to it, a kind of a childish Lambo. You would fit to a Lamborghini perfectly, perhaps even more so than I think that it would fit to a Porsche. But we have some very nice liveries in here. As always, I think the G-Drive cars are well pulled off. They always are. And actually the Fordzilla Fords. Look at this, Jack. Honestly.
I do quite like that, and the Quantum Racing Ford as well. I just saw it in the back of shot. I do think that it's a livery that maybe you wouldn't see that often, but it works. It looks really good, and it's a livery that works on most cars as well. I think we've struck a bit of a soft, or a bit of a sore point for the Team Simpact Racing guys in the chat at the moment. TSR Jimmy saying, "No love, Jack. Yeah, I'm sorry, mate, but." I'm not. I do like your livery. Don't get me wrong. I really do like your livery, especially with the just the complexity of it. And you must have put hours upon hours into those liveries, and I really do respect that. But I think just personal preference-wise, I think it's a little too overcomplicated. Don't get me wrong. I love a complex livery, but I don't know. I think it's just because I'm too scared to make a livery anywhere like that, which I'm inadvertently disliking because of that.
I think for the Simpact liveries, I know. Part of the team after all, so
not to be biased.
Not to be biased, but it was very much to strike that kind of art car balance that I personally love. It really stands out. We have Martin, who's also the livery creator on the team. He's a graphical designer, and he's quite skilled at his work. And whether you like it or not, it's created a very strong visual identity for the team. So on that part, it's been successful, and something that, because all the cars basically look like this now, so when you see it, you're not really in doubt of what it is. But I can see how it can be a divider of waters, if you will, and it makes sense, you know. It's a question of taste, and as we all know, I think there is no such thing as an absolute truth when discussing tastes.
Very true. And speaking of dividing of waters, like we mentioned earlier, there is a GT Evo series and the GT Pro series, and whether you were or weren't in the interview when we brought Ian Roots and Luke Holroyd in, Ian mentioned that there is promotion and demotion throughout both series, and he couldn't be any closer to the truth. The top 8 in the Evo series will be promoted to the Pro series at the end of the season, so it gives that, wow, Alejandro Garcia de la Mata Torres. That's quite the name, isn't it? But yeah, so the top 8 in the Evo series get promoted to the Pro series. So that gives people that extra bit of motivation and that extra drive to get up to the Pro series. And the bottom 8 in the Pro series gets demoted to the Evo series. So that once again adds that extra drive and that extra little motivation to stay out of that bottom 8. And although we may not be looking at battles for like the lead of the championship, we might be looking at battles away from that demotion zone, which I think it adds that extra little aspect into the series.
It really does. It makes sure that everybody has to be on point. There's no freebies here. You really have to deliver, and if you want to stay in the pro ranks, and I like that. It keeps people sharp, and that's what we want to see here at the competitive end of the field. And I really also like the idea of having a level of racing that, of course, don't get me wrong, the Evo series, which is going to be broadcast, by the way, on Simracersworld TV on Thursdays, as opposed to the Wednesdays that we're going to be showing the Pro Series on. I think it's still going to be absolutely brilliant. I think we've got qualifying getting underway right about now. Yeah, we do. Perfectly. So, but just to round it off, it's really nice to see that there's also somewhere where you just have the space to be social, and where maybe the focus is a little bit more on having a good time. Not saying that these drivers are not having a good time, but I think you catch my drift here.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I understand what you mean as well, 100%. But yeah, like you mentioned, we're going into a 20-minute qualifying session. So all the drivers will be pushing for that extra little position, whether it's just 1,000th of a second, which gains you a position. It's well and truly worth it around here, because we've said it's quite a skinny and quite a complex circuit. It doesn't necessarily look it, but it's all about car placement, because yeah, it's a skinny circuit, and you'll struggle to go too wide through here competitively, and 3 wide. I can't imagine it. I guarantee a lot of these guys will try it, because that's just what they do. But yeah, the qualifying is going to be more of a race during qualifying than I think the race will be. I think the race will be one of attrition, and qualifying will be where the proper action is being held.
Yeah, very much so. It's going to be one where if you can keep it straight and pointing the right way, and between these 2 white lines that can to twist around this grassy field here, I think you're going to be in a good position, because 36 cars on a track that takes a good deal less than a minute to get around. I don't think it takes a lot of brain power to figure out that's going to be quite spicy indeed here, and there really isn't a lot of space. We touched upon it earlier as well, but it is really, really true. And the addition of these new chicanes, I think that actually makes the track better than it was before, and they got rid of that. I was just about to call it dreadful. The crest after the kink, where a lot of people have lost the rear ender over that crest. I actually think these higher downforce machines would be okay at that point, but in an MX-5, that old crest was scary, but also a lot of fun. But the chicanes add a little bit of extra braking zones here. That's Torres.
Yeah, that's Alejandro Garcia de la Mata Torres. We need to just call him Alejandro Torres. Even still, Alex Torres.
Two cars going off there as well. Big calamity there in the final corner, I think. Oh, that's coming on to the start-finish straight, and there's another one here. So plenty of drivers, and more drivers going on that I could possibly catch up with there in a space of just a few seconds. Here's Sam Bentham. And what's that going to be? That wasn't a lot to show us there, was it, Jack? To be honest. Yeah, but Boland has been off as well. And I watched something really interesting there for him. But it seems we have a driver from the Isle of Man as well. So I think that's really interesting. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Somewhere who had their nationality set in as from the Isle of Man. That was quite cool of you.
Yeah, it adds that extra little bit as well as commentators, because it's something we can address, which is always nice to do. And like we mentioned earlier, it's 12 nationalities in just this series. I'm sure the Evo series adds more to that list as well. But speaking of this series as well, we haven't really addressed it to a great extent yet, but the incident points. So we all know how easy they are to pick up. You go off track, you get 1, you lose the car, you spin the car through 180 degrees, you get 2 X's, and if you have an incident with another car, like quite a large incident, that will give you a 4X or a 4 incident points. And we're just looking through the notes I've got from earlier on today. There's a 25 incident limit for each round. So quite a sizable amount, but for a 90-minute race, it's going to be it's a challenge almost for a couple of people, because you want to push harder, but then you end up maybe driving that extra little bit on the edge. It's easier to pick up 1Xs. If you dip a wheel on the grass, you're going to go off the circuit and maybe lose control of your car as well. And then also, if you manage to get and break past that 25 incident limit, you will get a drive-through penalty, and every 10 after that you will also get another drive-through penalty. But what it really does interest me, Hasse, is the season overall has got a 60 incident point limit. So only really, well, about 2.5 times what you can get, or 2.5 rounds worth of incident points will get you to the season limit. But what is really clever, and I don't think I've ever seen it before, and I'm sure this is the workings of Ian Roots and all the sponsors that have just got on board, because they have got an amazing system on where you can almost gain back your incident points, or maybe just make them null and void so they don't really count towards you. You get 5 incident points gained if you do a minimum of 50 laps of practice before the round in the hosted session, which is that's really good. It enforces people, or sort of promotes people to go into those practice sessions, turn the 50 laps, while also helping them get rid of their 5Xs, but it also helps them learn the circuit better, trust the car, and hopefully produce some even better racing. That's not the only way you can gain back incident points, though. 20 incident points gained back if you have a qualifying ban, in theory, just starting from the back, you can gain 10, and if you start from the pits, you can gain 20 back. And that's something I've never seen, but I'm hoping that sticks around, because it's great to see that drivers, if they put in that extra little bit of effort, they can stay in the series and continue racing. And yeah, like I mentioned, my favourite one of all of those is the 5 incident points gained back for the minimum of 50 laps worth of practice. As we go to some long circuits like Silverstone, it's not exactly a short circuit. 50 laps around there, that will set you up for your practice for the week.
Yeah, that's very much true, and it's I think it's nice to see also that the drivers have a way of getting rid of whatever incident points they pick up and put into their bank account, so to say, but at their own kind of disposal. They can say, okay, I'm not too strong on this track anyways. I'm maybe not expecting a strong result here, so I'm going to start from the pits. Get rid of some of that, you know. So there could even be a bit of strategy coming into play. Of course, it's going to be easier for the drivers to just make sure they don't collect up too many incident points in the first place, but just say you do collect up a couple of points here and there anyways. It's pretty cool to have this idea of you can actually decide yourself where to get the penalty served, so to say, and it also eases the load, I feel, on race direction and on the marshals in terms of having to dish out penalties left, right, and center after races, or for going too many incidents, and kind of drivers are responsible themselves, saying, okay, I have this amount of points and I'd like to get rid of this amount of points, so I'm gonna start from the pits or skip qualifying or whatever.
Yeah, that's I see what you mean. Strategy could play quite a sizable part in this season's dealings, and it will be good to see what people do with that. We are in a qualifying session at the moment. We've just surpassed the 8-minute mark in this 20-minute qualifying session. So at the moment, in provisional pole position is the man we're looking at the moment, Martin van Loosnoord for G-Drive Racing Exemia. His G-Drive teammate, Bram van Putten, as expected, joins him in provisional 2nd place in the fellow BMW. Only just, though, once again, they are 100th apart. So great to see that those guys are following pretty much exactly the same line around the circuit. I say that, but they've just swapped round, and 600ths quicker has Bram van Putten gone. And I wasn't quite expecting that, but it looks like there's no bitterness between those two.
Not at all. Teammates, I'd expect them also to be good friends on that account, and to have this kind of battle at this kind of event just makes it's a good fun event, I think, to go head to head as teammates. There's also always a certain level of competitiveness within a team to be top dog, so to say, and I think this only adds a bit of fuel to the fire for the G-Drive Dutchman here. But we've got Niklas last as well, yes, Simracing Academy, the first of the Porsche 911s. Martin van Røvik is 4th at the moment. He's at a good time, not too far away. That's a 48.93. So the top 4 in the 48s, and then from there on, I think we have pretty much the entirety of the field well, not far off at least in the 49s. And that also means that we have almost the entirety of the field within around a second here, which actually shows that there's not that much spread. Of course, this is a short track, but still, it's nice to see that it's not spread out by more than that. And I think over the course of this season, that's going to translate to some close racing indeed. Mind you, for both Jack and myself, I think this is the first time we've really had the chance to get acquainted with any of these drivers, in at least in this type of setting. Of course, anyone who's seen anything here on Simracersworld TV before will be well acquainted with a number of both drivers and teams lining up here. So it's not like it's a bunch of newcomers, all of them. And be very certain indeed that all of them know their way around a racetrack like this. And if it goes wrong for them, it's just a good showing that from time to time it goes wrong for everyone. It's Bram van Putten on top still, with Martin van Loosenhoort, Niklas Last, Martin van Rømer. So 2 Martins as well in the top 5. Seems to be a fast name tonight, isn't it? Adam Delman there up in 5th place. He's not for Flemish Esports or Flemish Sim Sports. He's in the Excite car. And I actually don't know. That must be a mistake of mine. I'll see if I can get that fixed. But anyways, this is, however, a Flemish Sim Sports car of Robin de Ville, the number 79 Ferrari, and you mentioned the quality of their paint jobs there before us. Oh, another car finds that sliver. Oh, there's 2 cars actually finding that turn 1-2 combination. It's a double right-hander. You want to say that it's actually taken like it's one turn, but if the car starts really to understeer, plow out wide, oh, you're going to be in big trouble. And that is one of the G-Drive BMWs, or was that the Simracersworld, the SRW Esports? Yes, it was, of Sebastian Heber there, who hits the wall, and he'll be setting back to the pits to get a fresh car to run for the remainder of the session. I'm gonna aid him well. I'm gonna end and see if I can just fix the team of Adam Belmont. He's certainly an Excite Racing driver. I'm gonna make that there, and that should be all better here now. Ah, much better, huh?
Looks, it just adds that extra little bit, doesn't it? Just when you get the overlay all together, it really gives you a great sense of achievement, so to speak. That's, yes, everybody, that's what me and Hasse get high on, just making a nice little project file for the stream. It just, oh, that's the best thing in the world.
It's our natural high. It's our natural high. Oh, someone goes around as well.
Very close. I think that was possibly, who was that? Was that Dean Timms?
I think that was perhaps Dean Timms having a spinner there in the year one racing Ferrari, the number 46. And that's... I'm actually a bit surprised of just how that car went around, because that's not too dramatic. As he returns to track, he goes on. Let's see if he then goes a bit wide on the exit of the penultimate corner. No, I don't. Actually, Jack, I think it wasn't Dean Timms.
It may... I'm not sure. It's not popping up on the internet. It could be Javier Garcia Rodriguez.
Oh, Heber again. Oh, and he gets sent into space, or perhaps just into the woods, because those trees were there to pick him off. But it could have been a proper launch worthy of SpaceX, or as Martin van Rømer calls himself with his bald head. Inside joke here coming along with SpaceX.
Oh god, you Simpac drivers, but yeah, while we're looking at Seb Herbera, obviously it's great to see that Seb is influential at Simracersworld and Simracersworld TV as well, and it's great to see that he's given up his time to go out and race in one of the series that we provide here at Simracersworld, and obviously a massive thank you to him and Ian Roots as well. And everybody else at Simracersworld, but also we couldn't do this without the sponsors. We've already spoken to Luke Holroyd from Porsche Sport, but we've got a number of other sponsors on board as well. So Dynamic Simulators, naturally, Porsche Sport as well, Strasser and Abruzzi have all got on board for the GT Pro Series, and I think even the GT Evo Series as well. So massive thank you to those and everybody that was involved with it as well, because we really couldn't do it without you. And also, while we're on the topic, I think that's one of the Year 1 cars sideways in the chicane, but while we're on the topic of the GT Evo Series, there are still spots available. So if you are out there and listening, please do make sure you go over to the Simracersworld TV website. That's Nicholas Last spinning through 90 degrees at the first corner, just dipped a wheel onto the grass and went bobbling across it. But yeah, there are still spots available. So join either the Discord server, speak to any of us on social media, go straight to the Simracersworld, well, anywhere. Type in Simracersworld and you will eventually get to us. It's pretty self-explanatory with social media being how it is today. So please do feel free to get in touch, and I'm sure we'll be able to get you in as well. But we're seeing a lot of drivers go off track. Do you think that's just people pushing to gain that extra little bit of a margin throughout qualifying?
I was just sitting here because for 2-3 minutes now, all we have been watching is replays of people going off track, and they just keep on rolling in. It seems like the track car combination is... There's John Barnes goes way off into the grass there. That's for Quantum Racing in the number 21 machine. And we're just trying to keep up here. Ryan Walker has been off as well for Nomad Sim Racing. He's one of the fast lads as well. He just goes straight on in the chicane. Goes to the old bit of the track. Goes straight back. Nicholas Last. He's been off again. He was off not too... No, that was in turn 1 as well. This time again. Oh, the rear end brakes. Maybe that brake bias needs to run a little bit further up ahead. Maybe the tires weren't really up to temp as well. That could be here. Jeremy Hessel has had an off as well. And it's honest, drivers, these guys need to keep it clean for a moment so we can actually see some live racing. Because I'm trying to get all the incidents with you, but at this moment we're not really watching anything but... Oh, Alex Torres on the pit straight as well. He goes around. And I'll tell you what, Jack, there's a lot of times being ruined at the moment. It's going to be interesting to see just how it all stacks up at the end of this session.
I think it will be, but I think that just shows how close these guys are on circuit and how hard they're pushing for those extra little bit of time as well during this qualifying session, because you said it was a short circuit and we're going into the closing stages now of the qualifying session, only about 3 minutes left. And at the moment, our provisional pole sitter is now Martin van Loosnoord with a 48 second 0.45 lap time. Well, I say that, but Bram van Putten has gone and topped it by 100th of a second. He's done a 48.44. Who else we got? We got Nicholas Last in provisional P3 at the moment with a 48.68. We've then got Joab de Ligt with a 48.69. Martin van Reewijk in fourth position on provisional P4 has got a 48.93 on the board. And we were saying that a lot of the drivers out on circuit at the moment, with it being such a short circuit, are going to be on very similar times and almost all within a second. There's a couple of drivers even on exactly the same lap time, and I think that's just great to see the competitiveness already.
Yes, and just Bram van Putten there, he's put in a 48.44, and then just Martin van Loosenoord there on his last lap put in a 48.45. So that is just 1/100th of a second separating those two drivers. That's really, really close indeed. And very true that you said that it's I think as close as you'd expect it to be on such a short track, and then just a little bit extra. Also because maybe the drivers haven't done as much practice up to a media day as you would to the official opening round that counts in the point standings and all that stuff. So could also be an explanation to as why we're seeing drivers that are still, let's say, exploring and finding where the limits are, because we've seen quite a number of drivers stepping over the limits, haven't we?
Yeah, we have, and I think exploring is the right word for it. Because we've seen lots of drivers exploring the greenery and the beautiful scenery around Lime Rock. So it's nice to see that everybody's enjoying the track limits, but it's basically just Simracersworld highlight reel. I think that was Neil Cooper only just about missing one of the Year 1 Ferraris on the pitch straight. This is Rutger Wienen going for a little trip across the grass, gets the moment collected up, and carries on with his qualifying session. And this 20 minutes has gone very quickly, Hasse, because we've only got 1 minute left of the qualifying session.
They have absolutely flown by, but it's what they say when company is nice, time flies by, and it certainly has here. I think this is the time to put in a hot lap. But one thing we haven't really touched upon in terms of qualifying, and with such a short track, such a small track indeed, is that it's so hard to find clear track space to put in the laps. And you can really see it here as we're watching the pit lane, that cars are almost constantly coming by on the left-hand side. And it really isn't easy, as that is the Demon Tweaks car that goes straight ahead in turn 1. Again, just pushing the limits a little bit too far at the end of the brilliantly named Sam Posey straight, which, of course, no real doubts about where I got that from, is there? So we're coming in through that chicane as well. Those pieces of, they might not look too tall as well, actually, the sausage curbs there, but they can really send a car flying if you hit them at the wrong angle. Although I think also the fastest way through is to kind of cut over them. But it's always risky. Could be launched up in the air and sent for, well, it's not going to be a space launch type of flight, but it could be a little bit of a flyer over that could damage the engine, could damage the suspension, the floor, as we have the checkered flag out as well. And then another thing that it really is difficult for is that that if you get it just right, if I'm very much not mistaken, could be different in these GTs, but I think if you just get it right, straight line it, straight over, and maybe with a bit of luck, you can really gain a lot of time there. And it is one of those tracks that just are very much on the limit, isn't it, Jack?
It really is, and these everybody that's driven a GTE car, you know, it's quite an art to get it right. It's an easy car to drive in my mind anyway, with the driving assists that you get in the cars, but just keeping it off the curbs and keeping it off the bumps and everything like that, it's so sort of demanding of you and your ability, because yeah, you just about saw the height of those sausage curbs there as the session ticks over. You've got to just weave it in between those big bumps and keep it on the black stuff. But yeah, it'd be great to see what these guys can do during the race, and I'll hand you over to Hasse to run you through the grid.
Indeed. Bram van Putten taking pole position in front of teammate Martin van Loosenhout, with Niklas Last being anything but. He's on row 2 in 3rd place in front of Joop de Ligt, the Dutchman, for Manatee Racing. Daniel Handover 5th. Martin van Rooijvik for Simpact in 6th place with Pimbau, another G-Drive driver there in 7th, with Adam Delman for Excite in 8th, Diego Hames in 9th for Flemish Simsports, Rutger Wijnen in 10th for Manatee. It's David Fuller, Mr. David Fuller, for Quantum Racing. Jack Ashton in 12th place there, 0.7 of a second down. And I'm going to see, just, does this work? Yes, beautiful. Then Robert DeVille for Flemish Simsports there, 13th. Jordan McLone for Simpact in 14th. We've got Nicolas Cortinovi in 15th for the Galactics Motorsports. We've got Alex Torres in 16th. Javier Rodriguez in 17th with Sebastian Hawkins 18th. Marc-Antoine Thibault in 19th place. Bart Boland from the Isle of Man. So that is, of course, the Manx man. Just came to think about that. Dries Moody 21st. Sebastian Heberer for Simracersworld Esports is 22nd. Cammy E. Sturch is 23rd. Sam Benham 24th. And for the final bit of rows here, we're going to go to Neil Cooper for Fury Sim Sports in 25th place, Jeremy Hessel, Paul Gosling, Matthias Tim, John Barnes, Lee Deemer, Ryan Walker, Kevin Bolland is 32nd. And then on the final 2 rows of the grid, we've got Dean Timms, and then Ian is not going to be racing, I'm pretty sure. But Johnny and Ferris there on the final row, I think not qualifying. And with that said, in not too long, we are going to be ready to race here from Lime Rock Park, indeed. As the drivers are lining up, the lights are up there, so once they go off, it'll be go time indeed, as we go on to the blimp camp for a short moment. Oh, they're going to have a formation lap, so of course, makes good sense here for such a short track, of course, to have a flying start. Indeed, we're going to go up to pole sitter there, Bram van Putten. G-Drive 1-2 there, looking very nice for them with a front row lockout. Certainly showing their intentions for the season to come of racing here. And the first bits of action from the Simracersworld GT Pro Series. Season 7 is getting underway here, as we've got the media day underway here from Lime Rock Park. And they're screaming down towards turn 1 here. In they go, and I'm gonna be surprised if we can see everyone getting around as well as we did earlier on here. Or as unwell as they did in qualifying, but a very clean start so far. Watching Niklas last here battling for 3rd place, and that's Joop de Ligt there, the German there with the inside line in the 911. Oh, and the G-Drive machine of Pimbau in 5th. Oh, it's getting very spicy there indeed. In behind, I think Niklas Last made a good decision to get past, because that is a very closely forming train there, isn't it, Jack?
It really is. Both the G-Drive cars still leading the way. 1.8 seconds is Martin van Loosnoord in P2. He's up the road, like I said, to the tune of about 1.5 seconds to Niklas Last. Joop de Ligt in P4 is being chased by Daniel Handover, Martin van Reewijk and Adam Delmont. Rutger Wijnen is in P8 as well, the 6th placed gold driver. He's chasing down Adam Delmont. There was a G-Drive car which I saw get an absolutely amazing start, but I'm not quite sure where he's gone, because the 2 G-Drive guys at the front end of the field managed to disappear into the distance.
We've got Pimbau in the pits.
See what happened.
He's just gone into the pits, so is that did he pick up some?
I do think that could have possibly been a stop-go penalty. Does look like he's sitting there for quite a while, so he might have picked up some damage, but that was the G-Drive car I was referring to off the start. He looked like he overtook about 3 cars before the line, and that might have introduced one of the penalties. Niklas Last posting a purple time, the quickest time out on circuit at the moment, a 49.282, chasing down the G-Drive cars. He's in a world of his own at the moment. He's got about a second behind him, and 1.5 seconds up the road are the 2 G-Drive BMWs, so it'll be good to see what Nick can do in a bit of clean air, but he's got the attentions of Joop de Ligt just behind. We're looking at now David Fuller in the mix. He's in P10 chasing down Rutger Wijnen, and he's got Jordan McClone for company just behind him. He'll be chasing him down. And this field, it's sort of spread out to a comfortable margin, but people are still nose to tail.
Yeah, I'm surprised that it actually did stretch out so quickly, because I wouldn't have been surprised to see a lot more calamities than we did here. Oh, that's actually a good point as well. Ian in chat mentioning that the reason we did see Pimbau in the pits could have been that he started on some kind of qualifying setup, maybe, that didn't have enough fuel in the car. That's very much a possibility as well. Have a look here at the bottom end of the running order here. Neil Cooper has had some kind of problem. I think Robin DeVille has had that as well. Seb Hawkins for Abruzzi has had issues. He's certainly not on track at the moment. And here is Pimbau not really being anywhere to be seen either, so a bit of a shame there. So certainly the early days of this race has taken its toll, as we're back here with Bram van Putten, race leader, in front of Martin van Loosnoord, still Niklas Last. Oh, and that's Van Reewijk, the Simpac driver, onto the start-finish straight, and that's not a good place to be at all. He has to be really, really careful in getting that car back on the track, and I'm afraid he's going to find himself all the way at the back of the field now. Oh, and he packs it into the wall. So
yeah, not a great job or not a great situation for Martin van Reewijk to be in. He's really dropped down the order now, lost 21 positions from where he started, 14 positions from where he started in class, so not what he wanted at all. Does the sensible thing and waits for a gap in the traffic, and then gets back going again. We're now looking at him come around the final corner onto the start. Oh no, yeah, there we go. That's the replay. Comes around the final corner, clips the grass, and it just rotates the car into the wall. A big old hit, and he's still going now. I think that's Kevin Boland is chasing down. This is Daniel Handover for Demon Tweaks Esports. He's chasing down Joop de Ligt in the Manatee Racing Ford, who is also chasing down Niklas Last in the Sim Racing Academy car, and the 2 G-Drive guys are still disappearing into the distance, not as quick as maybe they'd like to be, but they are still P1, P2, Bram van Putten leading the way from Martin van Loosnoord. So those guys really showing their mettle throughout this race. We're just looking at a couple of drivers which have gained positions. Paul Gosling for Quantum Racing in one of the 4 GTs in the field. He has gained 13 positions and is now P14 overall, P3 in class. So a great job from Paul, and it'd be great to see where he can do, or where he can finish and what he can do towards the end of the race as well. I think when Ian was talking about fuel, that could also be that these cars might not have enough fuel to get to the end of the race. We did mention that it's only a 50% fuel load for the start of this race, and to stretch that to 45 minutes worth of racing, I think that will be be some very conservative and very clever driving. So maybe he's just doing the quick little pit on lap 1. We got an incident in turn 1. I think that was a Ferrari and a Porsche. We'll have to have a look back to see who that was. I think it was Seb Hawkins involved in that. Did you see anything else, Hasse?
I'm not quite sure. I'm just gonna get it back up there. Seb Hawkins certainly did have an incident, so yes. And alongside a Ferrari, is that the one with Kevin Barden? Oh no, but he's been off as well. The 49 year one machine there almost taps the wall. And that means that I think it's Rutger Weinen. I'm not gonna be able to see that. But indeed, some drivers finding it quite difficult here, obviously, to get around, and it is, as we've seen on a number of occasions already, a very, very challenging track here. So still the 2G drive cars, but that gap there is less than 2 seconds down to Niklas Last. So it's by no means over yet here. We're on lap 8 of the race at the moment. We've got Manatee in 4th with Joop de Ligt. Daniel Handover up into 5th place. He's done pretty well for himself. And then Diego Hames, Jordan McLone, David Fuller, and Alex Torres. And then Jack Ashton there, down in 10th place, our reigning champ, who completes the top 10. Maybe a little bit of a surprise to see him, as just as we hop on board, he has a bit of a moment there on the outside of that final corner. If I'm not completely mistaken, that rear left-hand side of his car has taken a bit of contact. So maybe an explanation as to why he is in such a position at the moment here. Joop de Ligt in 4th, doing very well. Oh, where's he gone? Oh, he's right there. He was so close to the rear end of Niklas Last that I didn't even see his car. Oh, and it's not, of course, the other way around. He's right in front of Daniel Handover, but he was pretty close not too long ago. So I'd have made a bit of a mistake there, as Rutger Weinen has had a crash, I'm afraid. We're not going to be able to see... Oh, there it is. Oh, so not the worst of crashes. He does well not to hit anything. We've had Jack Ashton with an off track as well, and that was after we watched him here as he's trying to chase down Jordan McLone. I'm wondering whether I'm actually quite wrong on that one. That was exactly what we saw right before there. And now Dries Moody, who's had a bit of a problem as well here into turn 1. He comes on the outside, brakes. I was about to say a bit too late. That's way too late, and that grass is so slippery there, Jack, on that outside.
Does an amazing job of keeping it out the wall, though. I wasn't expecting him to slow that down with the lockup as well, and you're approaching that corner at around about 260, 250 kilometers an hour, so you're definitely not hanging around. So Dries Moody doing an absolutely amazing job behind the wheel of his Porsche 911 RSR, but he's now got the attentions of a Team Fordzilla car, that's Cammy Sturch, followed by Sam Bentham and Jeremy Hessels. So a quick little 4-car train very quickly going to become, I think, actually, it might become a 5-car train, because there's a Quantum Racing car very quickly catching up. We're riding on board with Jeremy Hessels. He's got the best seats in the house, almost 3 wide going into turn 1. I think it is 3 wide. I wasn't expecting to see that at any point today, but it looks like Sam Bentham was looking to the inside. That's Cammy just about losing out to Dries Moody, but Sam Bentham, like I expected, he worked his way right to the front from that, really made the most of that. And it looks like, oh, that's a car dropping down the order as well. That's Seb Herbera.
Let's see if we can have another look. Oh yeah, that's true. That is true indeed. Herbera off the track here. No second look at the situation from before. I'm afraid here as Adam Delman has had a problem here, and David Fuller, I'm afraid, as well. Oh, Adam Delman loses it and just about keeps it without hitting the tire barrier there. That's very well done, Adam. And then let's see Mr. David Fuller. What has he been up to here? The Quantum Racing driver. That's actually not as bad as it could have been there, but it's right on the apex, and he does well to get out of the way rather quickly there as well. And I think that's been the name of the game for a number of drivers so far here. David Fuller, by the way, sitting 11th.
David Fuller still where he started, I'm going to add. He hasn't lost or gained any positions, but he will have his Quantum Racing teammate, also a fellow Ford driver, Paul Gosling, chasing him down. He's gained 15 positions from where he started, so Paul doing everything he can to work his way up the order. And as soon as Paul starts to mount a challenge on David Fuller, well, I don't think he'll have to beat that David Fuller into the concrete barrier. 2 wheels off the ground. It looks like he just outbraked himself, and as soon as you hit that grass, it's like an ice rink, and that's such a shame to see, isn't it, Hasse?
It really is, and it really just understates how much you were right in what you said before when we saw another driver go off, and he actually brought it back in there, but not exactly the case there for David Fuller, and it just goes to show that grass, especially here in iRacing, there really is not a lot of grip on it, and the same goes for gravel as well. So no matter what kind of runoff you have, it's not going to be very grippy. And it's a little bit downhill, and as you said, 260 kilometers an hour coming into that braking zone. So a lot of momentum in those cars here. So we're going to go back with the leaders here. Is Niklas Lass still third? So for a driver with that name, doing rather well for himself. Joop de Ligt fourth, and Daniel Handover is right on his tail in the Demon Tweaks machine, and I think they're lapping the 49, or is that the 45 year one? Or is the 46, is it? Yes, it is. Makes sense as well to have 49 and 46, but they're really close.
They're doing a great job of getting out of the way. It was that year 1 car pulled over off the racing line and let the lapped or the quicker cars come through. So nice to see that everybody's being nice and civilized. We're now looking at Jordan McClone going into turn 1. You can just see how quick they go in, clip that apex, and well, there we go. We can see a double Murray in there. And what is it? Obviously, you're going to know a little more about this than I will. What is it with Team Simpact and all of their sort of rather flashy windscreen banners?
Yes, well, it actually comes from my YouTube channel, my personal one, where we've done a lot of race broadcasts as well. And I think this Murray Walker thing just came up as a kind of a tribute to the greatest commentator we've ever seen in motorsports, to be honest, and perhaps the greatest we'll ever have. So it's basically just a love letter to Murray and to his style of commentating, and as you can see, written as a reminder to the driver in the car at all times that to finish first you must finish. And that is such a truth in the world of racing, isn't it, Jack?
It really is, and it just sort of adds pay to when we say race of attrition. You just need to, at that point, it's just like keeping it on the black stuff and keeping it in between the white lines. We are looking at Jordan McClone. Oh yeah, we are now. He has gained 7 positions overall, placing him in P7 at the moment. The next target for him will be Diego Hames in the Flemish Sim Sports Porsche. The only cars he's really got in front of him are Porsches at the moment. As soon as he approaches Diego Hames,
oh, look at that, up further up the straight. I'm sorry,
not sure
Jack.
who that was. No, that's fine. You go for it, mate.
That was a big shunt indeed. Let's see if there's anything we can see.
That was Lee Deemer.
Lee Deemer.
I think both cars going for the same piece of tarmac there. I think that was Dries Moudry maybe being a little bit over optimistic.
Oh,
with
there's
the
another
left.
one!
That's lots of cars. That's Dries Moudry once again involved with the 46 year 1 car as well in there somewhere. So it doesn't look like Dries Moudry is having an evening to remember, does it?
He's having a rather forgetful evening. I think one to forget in the end. It hasn't been good at all. It's been such for a lot of the drivers, and I feel like for once we've been right on our calls as well, that this would be an attritional race indeed here. We're not even 20 minutes into it, so it's gonna be a long 45 minutes at the end here. And speaking of 45 minutes and that 50% fuel cap that they have, they're gonna be needing a pit stop at some point in this race. And I'm thinking, for instance, now Jordan McLone here, he has quite a bit of traffic around. Maybe he'd be well off to take his pit stop as early as possible. What's your thought on that, Jack?
I think that could be a possibility for him, but it's also whether he wants to dive into the pits and let Alejandro behind go through, but make the most of the of what he's done. Because in theory, Jordan has done all the hard work dragging Alejandro up through the order so he can catch onto the tail end of Diego Hames. So whether he goes into the pits and all his hard work is undone, and he just lets Diego sit, or just lets Alejandro sit onto the tail end of Diego. But this will all be going through Jordan's head, and he's got to weigh up the pros against the cons. But it looks like Diego is just starting to pull away a slight bit, because Jordan might be a little bit preoccupied in his mirrors with Alejandro being just about half a second behind. Make that 3 tenths, 3.5 tenths, 2 tenths. That gap is very, very quickly coming down, Hasse, and I think we're going to see a move.
I think you're right there. The Zenith Esports Ferrari of number 30. There's Jordan McLone. Just dips a couple of wheels onto the grass. That's going to perhaps present the opportunity to the Ferrari driver, who does the same on the exit of the final corner. And that could have been very sketchy indeed, but for some brilliant car control from the Spaniard here. Into turn 1 they go. Oh, I think Alejandro might have gone a little wide, but he gets it beautifully turned in for the second apex. The left-hander here, another right-hander to come, and it's up towards the first chicane. And the second chicane not really in use on this layout today. And that makes for a faster version of the track indeed. But you see just how hard it is to find any type of room to overtake. And I think the safest place to try is into turn 1. It's where we've seen quite a bit of attempts indeed here. I think Jordan McLone has picked up a bit of damage to the front end of the car. I don't think it's enough to really cost him too much. But it's enough that we can see it there at the front of the machine indeed. This time, I think, what do you think, Jack? Too far back?
Yeah, I think this time it's just a little too far back, and I know what the Porsche's like on the brakes, which may introduce a little bit of surprise for Alejandro, because I know the Porsche likes to rotate a hell of a lot on the brakes. So it'll be good to see what this battle evolves into over the coming laps. But like you mentioned, going into turn 1 is the prime overtaking opportunity. We've even seen people do it before they even get to turn 1, not willing to wait behind and just get in the draft. Alejandro is getting ever closer. Now you're looking at Joop de Ligt, the number 19 Ford. He has got Daniel Handover only 7 tenths behind him now. So it'd be good to see what Daniel can do working his way up the order. Obviously, that previous incident won't have helped him a hell of a lot. 12 seconds behind Daniel is Diego Hames, so no real danger for him. Yeah, that was Joop de Ligt running very wide. I don't know how he kept that pointing in a straight line. I think he might have just about dropped half a wheel onto the grass, but you can now see how close Daniel Handover is. That gap's now come down to half a second. The leaders are very close as well. We haven't really seen much of them because they've disappeared into the distance. Bram van Putten is still under pressure from his G-Drive Racing Eximia teammate Martin van Loosenhoek. Obviously team orders will be in effect, so to speak, so we'll see what those guys can do about deciding who wants to inherit the lead. This could be Bram van Putten Putten's way of paying him back, but we've just had Bram van Putten dive into the pit lane, so we'll see what Martin van Loosenhoek can do. Maybe they're on alternating strategies, but we've got to remember, while Martin van Loosenhoek has been behind his G-Drive teammate, that BMW M8 being driven by Bram will have been punching a BMW M8 shaped hole in the air, so Martin might have gained a couple of laps worth of fuel out of that.
Yeah, do you reckon it would have been a lesser gain if it had been another shape, less similar to the car in front behind?
Maybe. I know the BMW is a big old car. The BMW is a big old car, so if you're in the Ferrari following it, you might possibly. But yeah, it'd be good to see what these guys can do.
That was a very short pit stop for Van Putten there. He's back out in that number 23 machine, and I think he's timed it perfectly there because he has clean track in front of him right now, and that can turn out to be very, very important indeed. And that pit stop might actually decide things. Oh, look at this Van Oostenhout beginning to catch up to traffic here, and it's so hard for you not to get held up, even just by the small amount of dirty air that is still very much noticeably present in these cars, even though they're not completely downforce dependent, you could say, on their grip. They still do have a good bit of mechanical grip as well. And a bit of a surprise actually to see the front end of Martin van Loosenhoek's car. Look at that. There's a little bit of a bump to his front splitter. So he's had contact with someone. And you have to wonder, did he have contact with his teammate? Oh, I'm not sure about that. Bram van Putten looking at the rear end of his car, of course, they do have a fast repair for when they go in the pits. He could have taken that fast repair, although it would be a bit of a gamble to take it for such a small amount of damage that I take it. Of course, it could also a bit of touch up a curb. I don't really see anything to the rear end of his BMW. Do you, Jack?
I can't really see much. Like you mentioned, he could have done it on one of those really, really steep sausage curbs in the chicane around Lime Rock. We've had an incident for Matthias Temi. He went off track twice, and then it popped up saying he's had an incident. So we'll have to look back just to see what happened here going through the latter part of the circuit. I'm just waiting for my software to catch up.
Oh, he comes across, and he plants it into the wall. Luckily, doesn't collect anyone else in the process there. I think Ryan Walker has had a little bit of an incident as well. Let's see here. Oh, that's not going to be catchable for him, is it? Nope. Oh, that's a big one. And substantial damage to the front end of that Ferrari. He went straight to the pits as well, in for repairs. And it is really becoming attritional here. Jordan McClone is up into 5th place now. As I say that, he's actually in 6th. I don't know where Diego Haynes.
I'm just.
Oh, he's 5th in class. Yeah, well, good call.
Yeah,
good
just
call.
looking at the timing screens as well. Our current class leaders are P1, P2. So Martin van Loosnord leading the Platinum Drivers class, and Nicholas Last leading the Gold Drivers class. So as expected, both the leaders in class are P1, P2 at the moment. Bram van Putten has been demoted obviously into 7th in class with that pit stop that he took a little earlier on. So it'd be good to see, after all is said and done in terms of strategy for everybody, we'll see what position it leaves him in, and whether even his teammate manages to pick up a quicker pit stop. So it'll be exciting to see what the G-Drive guys can sort out going into the closing stages of the race. We're 21 minutes in, so just about ticking past the halfway point, and we've already completed 27 laps of the Lime Rock circuit.
Yeah, it's incredible. It has had a lot of action to it, and almost more than we've been able to keep up with as well. For at least for some times, there's been 3 incidents happening at once, just like it did in qualifying, and it's nice to see cars flying by here. It's a hefty racetrack for sure. The attrition is real, and it's going to be for the remainder of this race as well, as we are just over halfway through this affair here, I would believe, at this point.
Yeah, we're just about ticking past the halfway point. We've just gone past 22 minutes 30 seconds, so that is the halfway point. We've got a 45-minute race on our hands today, so like I said, we've just passed the halfway point, and we've only had, let's see, 1, 2 cars pit, I think, in terms of strategy. I think the rest might have possibly gone in for damage, so still well over half the field to come into the pits to pick up their tank of fuel or whatever they need to get to the end. So it'll be exciting to see what they can do. Bram van Putten still in 8th place, but hot on the heels of Alejandro Garcia de la Mata Torres, chasing down Jordan McClone as well. That's definitely a mouthful. So it'd be good to see what these guys can sort out between them. Obviously, Bram van Putten is the first car in the top 10 to pit. So whether he knows something we don't, or he's just desperate to get that extra little bit of fuel, because he's been leading from the front hell of a lot. You can just see how much trust he's got in Jordan McClone. Very close between those two. That's Alejandro coming under intense pressure from Bram van Putten. You can see how much trust he's got. I think that was either a bump and run, or Alejandro just let him through and left the door open. But nice little overtake there for what is P7 overall.
Yeah, I think that was indeed a bit of a touch between the two there. A little bit rough, I think, from Bram van Putten. Might have been getting frustrated there, but of course he's really in a position where he can allow himself to just shove people out of the road. Not saying that it was intentional, of course. They did run extremely close. I mean, I don't recall having seen people run so closely through turn 1 here. That was close. That was very, very spicy indeed here. Jordan McClone 6th as well here. Diego Haynes having driven a very, very good race in that Flemish Sim Sports 911 so far. He's really gotten under the radar, and that's the way you want to go in a race like this here. Watching Daniel Hanover as well he has done pretty much the same, but is still battling Joop de Ligt there for what is now effectively 3rd place. But of course, we're expecting Bram van Putten to get past here whenever everybody else decides to go for the pit stop. Oh, and someone's gone around, and I think that is the 46 car of Dean Timms. And then, oh no, Diego Hames! Is that Diego Hames? That is Diego Hames who reworked it. He's the Sim Sports car who had a bit of a moment going off there. Oh, that could have gotten very wrong, couldn't it? But he just managed to keep that going. And then Dean Timms here in the 46 machine sails wide in turn 1. And I think that's going to be, that's relative. Oh, I was just about to say that's relatively controlled. Into the bushes he goes. So, and that's why as a commentator, sometimes you just get a little bit scared of saying anything, basically. Because it could
commentators curse and all that.
that good old curse there. We do all have our own sort of touch to the curse, our own iteration of the curse, if you will. You know, Jack's curse, your curse is very strong because commentary in your blood. So pure blood commentator, obviously, you're gonna have a strong curse. Sometimes, Jack, I feel like it's maybe even too strong for you to be able to control it. Chas, he has this delayed type of curse where you swing away from someone and it'll strike the assassin's curse, you know, of Chas, the Chas-assassin, if you will. And and then there's my curse of, I don't know how it is, but it's possibly it's a bit more of a regular curse. Although I'd have to say I've had something of a thing with people running out of fuel on the line, that it seems to happen way too often in races that I commented upon compared to what it should do. So let's see if everybody gets their fueling right here tonight, or if my curse can strike it as well.
Now
if we see somebody halting here on the final stretch.
We promise we're not supernatural. We just make a couple of drivers, I don't know, just we give them bad fortune. We get a bad rep as commentators. We're not sure why. It's not like we make anybody crash or anything. But we've still got Bram van Putten working his way up through the order after his pit stop. He's now in P5 overall, 7 tenths behind Daniel Handover. You'll see him up the road if we get onto a camera very shortly. Those two, sorry, no, that's Diego Hames. He's worked his way past. There you go. You just saw the Ferrari go squeezing by. That's Bram van Putten going into turn 1. There we go. Jordan McLean going into turn 1. We'll see what he does. Chasing down Bram van Putten. Does he run wide? He rotates the car a little bit too much. Does he keep it out the wall? Just a little kiss of the wall. He meant to do that. He's just checking that the wall's still there. But very lucky from Jordan McLean. Just a little kiss of the wall. Nothing major. See what he can do this time. Going in. He's locked to brake once again. Very similar incident. But it looks like he got away with it that time. No, he did, and that's a big old hit into the wall that time. Although it is tyre barrier, it does still damage your car to a small amount. So he's still struggling, is Jordan, at turn 1. Nicholas Last diving into the pits from P2, so we'll see what he can do. That's now in Joop de Ligt has inherited P or 2nd position overall. Daniel Handover now in 3rd position, and if Bram van Putten can get by in a hurry, he will promote himself back up into P4. So great to see what he can do throughout the rest of the race, because all the cars in front of him have still got to go into the pits.
Yeah, I think Bram, if just thinking whether it was the right call for him, he did have clean space for some time, where we saw Martin van Loosenoord, his teammate and current leader, hitting some traffic. I think Martin has had a bit of a better luck, actually, on the last couple of laps, and thus I am quite interested to see just how it's going to be. The gap currently 28 seconds from Van Loosenoord to Bram van Putten here, as I think Joop de Ligt comes into the pit stop as well here for Manatee Racing. Of course, no drivers are going to be taking tires on these pit stops. It's more or less just a splash and dash at here about 10 minutes left of the race. So really expect it to be just a short stop, and he'll be back out there again. Question is, now is Last gonna get by? I think he is already by as well. He is indeed, and that means that Joop de Ligt is now in 6th place, but it's all skewered now. It's indeed all skewered because Daniel Handover, Demon Tweak's driver, still has to come in. Diego Hames, I think, has yet to come in as well. And Alejandro Garcia de la Mata Torres for Sinister Esports as well, still to come in. So it's going to twist our tongues for a lot this season, Jack. I'm looking forward to improving my Spanish pronunciations there for a bit. But it does roll off the tongue well, at least. Or, I don't know if you say usually, but sometimes when you see drivers with these really long names, it kind of, some of the words doesn't really fit together. But it's like, okay, but his parents' name were that, and mom's and dad's, and what's all that stuff with paternal and maternal names in Spanish. I have no clue what that's all about. But sometimes it just gives you some names that are just really, really hard. This one, Garcia de la Mata Torres, it really just rolls off nicely. So I want to say, I was about to say props to his parents. I think that was maybe be a bit rude even, but thanks for pulling off some name, giving us a name that just rolls off the tongue. Another driver here opting to really take out that cone pit entry. It has had a tough appearance as well here tonight as Daniel Handover comes in. Hopefully not to hand over the car to another one. Hopefully he's just going to keep on going here. He's in a good position. He's been that for the entirety of the race here. As by the way, we only have, I think now, Martin van Loosenhout at the head of affairs still, at least who's in front of Bram van Putten, and who also has yet to pit. So interesting to see just how they come about it here. But Martin van Loosenhout's last lap, 49.637. It's not a bad lap at all, is it? And,
it's not, no. I'm just going to draw attention also to the consistency factor as well. It is quite a short circuit, but quite a demanding circuit. We've seen lots of people getting caught out around here, so it will be good to see what Bram van Putten can do about disposing of his teammate. If he's been quicker and more consistent throughout, that gap will really start to build up, although it might not be there on track at the moment. It'll be good to see where Martin van Loosenhout comes out of the pits. That was Alejandro Torres just about getting out of the pits and missing a bit of an incident. Martin van Loosenhout, does he go into the pits this time by? Yes, he does. So on lap 39, just ticking over to lap 40, we'll keep an eye on the G-Drive guys, because only 28 seconds behind him is Bram van Putten. So his G-Drive teammate, I think, will get the jump on him here. We'll be able to see how long this pit stop is. It will literally be, it will almost look like a stop-go penalty. He just gets to his pit stop, stops, the fuel starts pumping in, and Bram van Putten is even closer. I'm sure we'll be able to grab a camera angle on him very shortly. Only just about going around the final corner, going down the start-finish straight. Mary's Van Loosenhout, he's just coming out of the pits now. You can see him peeling out onto the racing line, and Martin van Loosenhout is still once again ahead. So Bram van Putten has gone from the lead and dropped behind his G-Drive teammate. And although this is a media day, this is an absolutely amazing racing.
It's really good stuff from Van Loosenhout there, who's taken a gamble to stay out for a bit longer. You could say it's maybe the more chosen strategy across the field. So maybe Van Putten here is the one who actually took a bit of a gamble. He's closing the gap down relatively quickly. I don't think Van Loosenhout's really been stationary for too long there, so it's not like his tires are cold or anything. They are really hammering at it. They're using every inch of tarmac available, and a little bit more. They're using a bit of the grass as well there, coming into the penultimate corner. But they're really flying, and the gap's still less than a second. And I think the only problem here for Van Putten is that he's beginning to be running out of time for a little bit. It's not easy. One thing is catching up, getting past is quite another, and it's not an easy track to line up an overtaking opportunity on as well. So I think that's going to be a growing concern for Bram van Putten, who's, I think, of course, he's not going to mind too much. It's the media day and there's no points on display. It's only for honors, winners' honors. But still, I think he would really have liked to get out ahead of his teammate there up in front. And I think we're getting up to a bit of traffic coming up shortly, and that could mean an opportunity if he can get close enough. Oh, there's one of the others. That's Sebastian Heberer.
Does look like Werrell. Well done, good spot. I didn't spot that from that far away. You've got better eyes than me. But fellow BMW with a very similar livery is just popping out the way. That was, like Hasse said, Werrell. We've got lots of battles going on circuit. Maybe not as close as we'd be expecting. Jack Ashton is chasing down Paul Gosling for P11 overall. Jack Ashton 10th in class in the Team Fortilla 4GT. There's the gap between the two, so very similar cars. Well, exactly the same car, but obviously set up and well, driver standards and talent may vary. But we know Jack Ashton has got a lot of experience in these cars, and he knows the champion or the series better than anybody else, being the season 6 champion. And I'm not sure what Jack mentioned. Oh yeah, Jack mentioned earlier saying that he's going to be pushing for some good results, and he's done really just that throughout tonight, because he's still in the position where he started. So he's kept it clean, kept it consistent, and he's working his way slowly towards a couple of positions gained. So it'd be nice to see what Jack can do in the final 10 minutes of the race. We're now looking at Alejandro Garcia de la Meta Torres. Now Daniel Handover going through turns 2 and 3 in P5 overall. He's got a 22-second gap behind him, but only 8/10 of the road is the person we were looking at a little bit earlier. He got the lick.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it's one of those battles that's been going on here for quite a while. It's been transcending pit stops. They've been in at a little bit of a skewered stop round for both of them, and they've managed to actually come out of the pits and just kind of let the battle resume, just where they left off. And that's always brilliant when that happens. And he's running there from Niklas Last, who is, by the way, let's say that Gosling, who's currently in 11th place, is the second gold-rated driver on track at the moment. So Niklas Last, they're very, very strong on the gold driver standings at the moment, in the gold class, you could say here. So there's a G-Drive car coming up, and is that the top runners? Is that the number 2 machine of Pimbao, who had bad luck earlier on, who's now, I think, just trying to bring it on through. He seems to have good pace because he's catching up to the Demon Tweaks car at the moment. And that might cause a little bit of a stir in that battle if he indeed chooses to pass. But let's see just how that goes. Further up, it's still also close between Joop de Leek and a couple of the cars ahead. And I'm just thinking that's the car behind. Which was that? It's the battle between... That's Daniel Handover. So that's this very same battle that we were watching before. Got a little thrown off by the interval there. And he, of course, has around 6 seconds up to Niklas Last. And why is Bram van Putten? Oh, it's 1.3 seconds. So he's lost a little bit of time as well there, I think, to Van Loosenhoort, who has indeed, as Ian also put it, twice SRW GT Pro champion. So certainly a driver that knows exactly what he's doing, and a little bit more as well. He's been putting in a brilliant drive, and I think every time I see Van Loosenhoort on track, he has this combination of pace and patience, and that is really a race-winning combo.
It really is, and well, something that isn't a race-winning combo is falling foul of a commentator's curse. We were speaking about Jack Ashton. He's had an incident. He's dropping way down the order. He's now in the pits. So we'll see what happened to Jack Ashton. We were literally talking about him just a second ago, struggling to keep the car in a straight line. Dives one way, dives the other, spins the car 380 degrees, lights the rear up. He stops just in the middle of the road, gets out the way of everybody very nicely, gets back going again on the racing line. We'll see what happened. It looks like the car is tracking straight. No, it definitely isn't. He's got a bit of damage on that front left.
Yeah.
Goes one way, goes the other, and he has decided that the car isn't happy to carry on. He's been in the pits for about a minute now, so we'll see what happened to Jack Ashton, but it doesn't look like he's got any major damage on that car, and obviously that will be picked up by the one fast repair. He's going up on the jacks as well, so he's taking tyres. Not something we were expecting to see throughout the race, but Jack Ashton, like I said, dropping way down the order. We're now looking at our leader, Martin van Loosenhoort, further away than we've ever seen him before, 2.2 seconds away from his G-Drive teammate, Bram van Putten.
Yeah, that's a big gain over the last lap he's done there. That's an entire second on the track, where lap time difference are often more made up in hundredths of a second than an entirety of one. So I think Bram van Putten might have made a little bit of a mistake on that lap, and that, I think, has put it in the hands now of Martin van Loosenhoort to take the checkered flag here, because we are getting into the final cramps of this race now at this moment. The number 9 machine, platinum rated Dutchman here, twice a champion as mentioned before, and just generally a very fast driver here. It's still Niklas Last, still third place, still with a comfortable cushion behind himself as well. And he's done what so many others today has failed to do. He's basically flown under the radar, as we say, and he's done very well not to really catch any attention to himself, and that's what you want to do in a race like this, where you just basically have to go around and keep the contract.
It really is just to draw attention to Nicholas Last still while he's still on the cams. He is the leading gold driver. He has got 6 positions back to Paul Gosling, the only person that will challenge him for the gold lead at the moment. And he is in 3rd place overall, but the 3rd, 4th and 5th placed car, so Nicholas Last, Job de Ligt and Daniel Handover, have all remained in the positions they started. The only 2 above them, top positions, are the leaders naturally, so Martin van Leeuwenhoek getting 1 over on Bram van Putten. But there's lots of mixing and matching further down the order. Paul Gosling, we were just speaking about him, saying that he is the only person to be able to mount a challenge on Nicholas Last. He is 2nd in the gold class, but he has gained 17 positions from where he started, so right the way down in P27 he started, all the way up to P10 now, pushing forward up through the order. He's managed to fend off the attentions of everybody around him. His next target will be Jordan McClone, but with only 4 minutes of the race remaining, I'm not sure he'll get many opportunity.
I think there are going to be spares as well. I think you're very much correct on that one here, as we are with the chopper looking at set Jordan McClone, who's climbed quite a bit away, as he's gained 7 positions from his grid place of number 14. It's initially, of course, up into 7th now. I think the biggest mover in the field at the moment is Matthias Temme, somehow, who's just crashed. So, oh no! This is not Matthias Temme we're looking at. Let's just have another go. That's into the chicane. We've seen so many cars fishtailing here. And that is, well, that's not exactly what that happened to the 333 Fury Sim Sports 911 RSR. Kind of did break loose. There's another bit of a calamity there coming into the chicane. 2 cars trying to be in the space of 1, and that rarely goes well at all. But our friend Alejandro Garcia de la Mata Torres, he has been the high runner of this race so far. He's climbed 10 positions from his starting place, and that's absolutely brilliant, because he's not been alone. He's really been fighting. He's really been having to be hefty about it. Just saw an incident, or not an incident, but a situation. He comes out of the pits and he's instantly greeted by one of the cars he'd been battling for a long time, and lost out on that position as well. And just look how, well, the lap cars really have to be mindful of the fact that they're being lapped here, because there really isn't a lot of space to get through.
No, there definitely isn't, and we've also got to bear in mind the pit stop strategy as well. Some people might have pitted very early on in the race, and a couple a little later on. That looks like Alejandro just dealing with a slowdown. There's Javier going for a little spin, perfect through a 90 degrees. Not exactly where he wanted to do it though. One of the quickest corners on the circuit is the penultimate corner.
That
down
Porsche,
the hill into the final corner. Go on.
That Porsche behind just did a brilliant job of actually not running into him. That's quite hard to do when you have someone crashing right in front of you, by the way. So, really good job. I didn't see who that was, incidentally. But blue and white Porsche 911, well done anyway. And we do have a battle here. That's Martin van Rømer, who's, gets collected a little bit there on the rear end. And that's a close fight if ever I've seen one. And that's one of the G-Drive machines. Actually, Bram van Putten get his way past here. He's lost quite a bit of time. He's now 2.5 seconds down on Martin van Leeuwenhoek. A little unlucky, I think, with the traffic here, as he moves on up past. Oh no, he's gonna get cut off. Oh, the year 1 Ferrari there. I think, is that the? Is that a year 1 car? That's Alejandro. He almost just having praised Alejandro for his race a moment ago. That almost got to his head, I'm afraid, because he just nearly. Oh, and Martin van Rømer is having contact here with one of the Ford GTs, but just coming back to what we saw at the start-finish straight not too long ago there, that got very dicey for Bram van Putten. It could have been bad indeed here. Is Niklas last in the pits?
He's gone into the pits from P5. He's going up on the jacks as well. That isn't something I was expecting to see. I saw it once, didn't expect to see it at all. And well, I've seen it twice now. Nicholas last up on the jacks. Whether that's just a fresh set of tyres, but he's gone back out. He's only lost a couple of positions, only one position in fact. He's come out of the pits in P6. Speaking of coming out of the pits, only a couple of laps ago, Cammy Sturch has come out of the pits, and she's been doing a great job. She's flown very, very under the radar, and only gained 4 positions. Been into the pits twice though, so she's doing a great job. In a world of her own. Not really got anybody for company at the moment. She is in the Team Fordzilla 4GT, one of the Fordzillas we've got out on circuit. The other Fordzilla car, actually, I can't find him on the timing screen. Jack Ashton, is he still running? I don't think he is. I think Jack Ashton is out of the race. So from 20th position, Jack is out of the race, along with Dean Timms, Jeremy Hessels, Ryan Walker, Lee Deemer, Dries Moodry, John Barnes, Mark Antoine Diebolt, David Fuller, Adam Delmont, Rutger Wynan.
Oh, Van Putten!
Kevin Bolland. That's Van Putten, our P2 driver. Rotating
and he gets...
degrees. That's the end of the race. I wasn't expecting to see that already.
Oh,
but that was perfect execution from Bram Van Putten, like a ballerina. Perfect backflip, perfect execution, and landed in the greenery. But Martin van Loosnord, ladies and gentlemen, our media day race winner. Great job from Martin van Loosnord. Bram Van Putten throwing it into turn 1 and being collected by, I think that was possibly Alejandro.
That was
Alejandro. See a replay. Look at that. That was perfect from
beautiful launch.
Teamwork, inter-team teamwork. Great job for those guys. Yep, the Licht crosses the line to round out the podium, and we'll get some more secure results a little later on. But that was a busy old race, Hasse.
It certainly was. It certainly was. And here we do have the results. Martin van Loosnord for G-Drive Racing Eximia winning in front of Bram van Putten. The distance there, 3 seconds in the end. Joop de Ligt third for Manatee Racing in that Ford GT. Daniel Handover, Demon Tweaks, best of the Porsche 911s. In front of Alex Torres for Zenith Esports in 5th. Jordan McLaughlin 6th. Diego Hames in 7th. Nicolas Cotinovi in 8th place with Paul Gosling. Niklas last in 10th place in the end. What a terrible, terrible fate. And what did I say about people running out of fuel? I remember maybe mentioning something about that at some point. Anyway, Javier Rodriguez 11th, Martin van Rooijwijk in 12th place in the end. Bud Bolen, the Manxman, in 13th. Seb Hebera 14th. Sam Bendham in 15th place. Pim Bao all the way down in 16th. So a race to forget for the number 2 machine there as well. Matthias Temme, he had quite a big moment and quite a big off there in the 333 Fury Simsport car. It's in 18th, Sebastian Hawkins, and let's just slide the results down to get the rest of them. In 19th place, Cammy Sturge there as I think the final of the finishers. And then, as you went through them before, Jack Ashton, Dean Timms, Jeremy Hessels, Ryan Walker, Lee Deemer, Dries Mouldy, John Barnes, Mark Antoine Thibault, and David Fuller, all not completing the race.
Yes, it's such a shame that a fair few guys didn't manage to cross the line, but just to very briefly run you through the podiums for both classes. Martin van Loosnord takes top honours, not just for the race, but for the class as well. P1 overall and P1 in Platinum class, followed by his G-Drive teammate, Bram van Putten. And then Joop de Ligt crossed the line in P3 to take the final spot on the podium in the Platinum class. P1 in the Gold class is Paul Gosling. Not something I was necessarily expecting to see that late on in the race, a change for P1, but Nicholas Last, like I said, running out of fuel on the very last lap, crossed the line. Eventually in P2 in class, P10 overall, I believe. And then Javier Garcia Rodriguez crossed the line to round out the podium in the Gold class. But yeah, that was it was quite an eye-opener, and if we get more stuff like or more races like that towards the end of the season, it's going to be a busy old 10 weeks. Well, 20 weeks.
20 weeks it is. 10 races, 20 weeks. I know it can be a bit hard to get your head around, Jack, but I'm sorry, but indeed it's going to be amazing. I think with what we've seen today, I had an appetite coming into this one already. I actually had a big appetite coming in, but now I am starving for more. And I'm actually really glad that we're not going to have to wait 2 weeks, but just a week from now before we have the actual opening round of the series. That's going to be an absolute blast, I'm afraid. Of course, I'm afraid. No, I'm sure. A shout out to our sponsors as well here. Dynamics, Porsche Sport, Stratse, and Abruzzi. Thank you so much for making this possible. I think not only from us here in the booth, but from all the drivers, and hopefully from all you people watching along. I hope you have enjoyed the show here tonight with me and Jack.
Can we squeeze in some interviews?
What?
Can we squeeze in some interviews while we've got a couple of people in the waiting room?
Oh, yeah. I wasn't about to end it. I was just about to say thanks for tuning in, and let's go over to the interviews then. Jack,
oh, yeah.
Bring them on.
God, that old excuse. What we're going to do is bring in our eventual winner, not just in class, but our winner overall. Martin van Loos, not everybody. Martin, you seem like you're having a good little battle with Bram, but you just seemed to drop off towards the end of the race. What happened?
Hi guys. Battle was really good. I managed to stick on his rear until he pit. I was wondering, there was traffic ahead of us, so that's probably the reason why he pitted. But in the end, I thought, maybe he will be stuck in traffic, and I will be getting blue flags. So I'll just try and go for it, and let's manage to gap to 28 seconds somewhere about that, as that was the pit lane time. And that worked out in the end. So yeah, it was a good little battle, and was a nice win for me. Thanks.
No, you did an amazing job. We tried to catch as much of it on the stream as possible. But going into, obviously, this isn't a championship round in theory. It's just a media day to get everybody used to the cars and used to everybody they'll be racing against. And it also gets everybody involved and the ability to see what really goes on in the upcoming Simracersworld GT Pro Series. Going into the media day, was that always the plan between you and Bram, just to stick nose to tail for the opening stages of the race, or was it just the way luck had it, you ended up being on very, very similar lap times?
No, we both started. We didn't know what pace we both had today, so we just started racing, and it was pretty difficult to overtake. So I tried my best, of course, to get a good run out of last corner, but it's really difficult to nail that one, especially when someone ahead is also nailing the corner. Then you need to have a little slipstream, and I think the straight was just not long enough to make a good overtake. So I think that was the reason that we were just sticking together, and I was trying to save a little bit of fuel just to get that extra lap out of it. But yeah, that was it basically.
Well, you did a great job of it. Obviously, you took top honours in the race. But going into round one at Sebring, just a week away, what is the plan for that? Is it something more of the same, or are you going to focus a little more on just getting your bearings there? Not that you need to, obviously, being a two-time champion. But what is the plan going into round one?
Just get some practice in, and let's just try to make the best of it. I mean, preparation is key. And a good preparation will lead to good results, I think. So I think that should be the main thing for us to do.
Brilliant. Sounds like a plan. But while we've got you in the booth, is there anybody you'd like to shout or thank out? Shout or thank out? That's not quite the right way around. Thank or shout out. There we go.
Yeah, I would like to thank G-Drive Racing, of course, Eximia Esports, and the whole team basically just supporting us and supporting each other. I would also like to thank you guys for covering this series, and the admins for making this another great season possible.
No problem at all. You're always welcome here at Simracersworld, as you know. Thank you very much for joining us in the booth, and once again, well done for tonight.
Thanks, man. See you later.
See you later. That was Martin van Loosnord, our eventual winner. But what we'll do, while we've just had one G-Drive driver in the booth, we'll bring in the other, Mr. Bram van Putten. Well, what a race. You were following your teammate around for a while. Bram, at what point did you realise maybe the win isn't in sort of reach?
Yeah, hey guys. Yeah, good to be here. I was leading for the first part of the race, but I saw some traffic ahead, like 3 cars in the train, so I thought, yeah, why not just do the undercut? It's a test race after all, so yeah, we can test a bit. But yeah, it did work out in the end because of the traffic, so well done to Marta.
Yeah, it seemed like you two were working together for a long while. It was almost like you were doing a lot of the hard work. You were punching the hole in the air for Martin to follow. And I asked the question to Martin. I'm going to ask it to you as well. What was the plan going into this route or into the media day? Was it just work together and make sure you get the practice for round 1 on the way, or like what was sort of your perspective going into the media day?
Yeah, for the first few laps, we definitely worked together. We weren't fighting too hard, but after we lost P3 and P4, we definitely had a bit of a battle in the end as well. So that was fun.
Yeah, it really was, and we were watching as much of it as we could because we couldn't really get enough of you two battling away. It's great to see teammates just putting all the cards on the table and going for it. But speaking of teammates, your teammate Martin, he's a 2-time Simracersworld GT Pro Series champion. Are you going to bring the fight to him this season?
Yeah, for sure. We also have Scott Andrews, who's also a really fast driver, and I'm sure he'll always be fighting with us as well. So yeah, we have a fight on our hands this season.
I can't wait to see it. Anything to add, Hasse?
No, great race, I gotta say, and what a launch there from Alejandro in the end.
But while we've got you in the box,
beautiful.
Bram, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
Yeah, thanks to the whole team, G Drive Racing Academia, and thanks to Maarten and Pim for the fun race.
No problem at all. Thank you very much for joining us in the box, and we'll see you at round 1.
All right, guys. See ya.
See ya. That was Bram van Putten, our 2nd place finisher, and I think we've got one more person to interview. And well, funnily enough, we've only had people on the podium, so we're going to bring in the leader. Sadly, we brought him in mid-conversation with Seb Herber, I think. But Paul Gosling, our eventual gold class winner with the shortcomings of Nicholas Last. Paul, I'm sure that's quite a nice little surprise.
Yeah, it was. I wasn't expecting that at all. In the last lap, I realised I went to 9th as across the line, but I wasn't sure what class the drivers were in front of me. So, very pleasant surprise.
We've asked the question to everybody else, and I'm just going to sort of gloss over it again. Going into the media day, what was your plan? Was it more just to get a feel for the car and sort of build that bit of trust with the people you're going to be racing with for the next 20 weeks, or was it just see how hard you can push yourself, find the limit before the season starts, and just sit a little bit below it?
Yeah, pretty much try and do that in most races. Anything over about 20 minutes, I try and do that. Just find the limit in practice and then just wind it back a little bit. On a track like this with a big field, there was no point in trying to take too many big risks. I was just saying to Seb, I don't think I really overtook anyone on merit. I literally just made most of my positions for other people going off the track, and I'll take that. That's kind of a way of doing things.
Well, you did a great job with that, because I'm not sure whether you gained 17 positions from where you started. Actually, make that 18 because you picked Nicholas Last up on the final couple of laps. But is this something we're going to have to start expecting from you? Some nice good results for the rest of the season and going into round 1?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, there's some very good drivers in this event, so I know that some of them specialise in different tracks, and so even my teammates usually are quicker than me. But we'll see. So I had the same last season in Zandvoort, a race of survival, and if other people are going to make mistakes, I'm going to take advantage of it.
Well, I'm sure we've got plenty to look forward to. But while you're in the booth, is there anybody you'd like to shout out or say a quick thank you to?
Just the usual, the Quantum Racing guys. Again, great bunch of guys. We will have a good laugh doing what we do. Le Mans last weekend, and any events that come up, we get involved. And our paint designer Ben, I think you may have noted our colours changed this season, and they're pretty distinctive. So I'm looking forward to us getting lots of notice.
Well, I'm sure we'll see you again at some point throughout the season. But thank you very much for joining us in the box, and we'll let you get back to your conversation with Seb Herber.
Yeah, no worries, guys. Take it easy. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. That was Paul Gosling, our gold class winner. But Hasse, I I know it's only a week away, but it seems a little long to wait now after tonight. July the 1st, we've got the first round at Sebring. I want it to happen tomorrow.
Yeah, I also honestly I can't really have it happening fast enough. It's gonna be a long week's wait, but of course, luckily we have some very hot action coming up as well on Sunday here on Simracersworld TV. So it's not gonna be an entire week's worth of waiting, is it now, Jack?
It really isn't. We've got the bell car 6 hours, and please do correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's at the Daytona Road Course. I really should do my prep because we're not far away from that at all. But yeah, please do pop by on or throughout the weekend to make sure you keep up with everything that's going on, and you will join me and Hasse in the box then as well, with the addition of the ever amazing Chaz Draycott. But you got any final sort of quotes or questions?
No, not really. I'm just gonna say thanks for tuning in with us, with me and Jack here in the booth tonight. It's been our absolute pleasure having you along, and I think with that said, it's safe to say that we'll be so happy to see you here again on Simracersworld sooner rather than later. And for the both of us, well, thanks for joining in. Leave a like, subscribe if you want to see more, and I think that should be all set. So do tune in again, and we'll see you next time from the booth. Me and Chaz, or me. who of us wouldn't love to be Chaz? From me and Jack here in the booth. Let me get this right. Thanks for tuning in, and see you soon. Bye bye.